Registered Apprenticeship Programs, or RAPs, for neurodiverse youth and adults. My name is Danielle Charlus, a senior workforce consultant at ICF, and I have over 29 years experience within workforce development and human services, specifically leading federal and state Department of Labor, or DOL, programs and providing technical assistance within the workforce development space. I'm proud to have combined employment services into life-impacting programs for the hardest to serve populations within youth and adult systems. This includes working extensively to improve outcomes in career training, work-based learning, and job placement. Unique to my background is my lived experience as a neurodiverse person, which has contributed to my passion of working with youth and adults with disabilities. As a certified employment support professional through the Association of People Supporting Employment First, or APSE, and a board member of the Connecticut APSE chapter, and credentialed in customized employment through both the Association of Community Rehabilitation Educators and State of Connecticut Aging and Disability Services, I offer subject matter expertise on customized employment and employment supports. So October marks National Disability Awareness Month, a nationwide campaign managed by the United States Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy. So the theme of today's webinar is particularly relevant with this theme of America's Workforce Empowering All, raising awareness of disability employment issues, such as the fact that only 20% of people with disabilities are actively in the workforce. I hope that after today's session, you'll receive some tips and resources for how RAPs can help employers recruit and retain diverse talent while also offering meaningful employment opportunities to neurodiverse people. Today's webinar would not be possible without the Cybersecurity Youth Apprenticeship Initiative. CYAI is funded by the U.S. Department of Labor's Employment and Training Administration Office of Apprenticeship. CYAI promotes sustainable development of IT and cybersecurity apprenticeship programs for youth age 16 to 21. It's administered by ICF, where we target youth and disconnected youth to become apprentices in registered apprenticeship programs. A sample of the IT and cybersecurity occupations we've supported is noted here on this slide. And this takes place across a wide variety of industries such as IT, healthcare, and finance. And to date, we've supported over 1,000 apprentices across the country as a workforce intermediary. We provide our partners with technical assistance and incentive funding. And one of our sponsor partners, CyberUp, is a panelist who you will meet today. For a full list of references, please visit our website, where there are also numerous resources such as a disability resource bundle for both practitioners and RAP sponsors. If you'd like to learn more about CYAI, please reach out to me directly after this webinar at the email that is shown here. For today's discussion, we're going to focus on how RAPs can be inclusive for neurodiverse youth and adults, and we'll focus on the IT and cyber industries. Keep in mind, many of the principles discussed will be applicable across industries and for people with other disabilities. So we're on the same page about the definition. Neurodiverse youth are age 16 to 24. Both neurodiverse youth and adults possess unique strengths and experience challenges due to the way that their brains process information. Neurodivergent is a term that describes an individual with less typical cognitive variation, such as autism, attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, dyslexia, executive functioning challenges, developmental disabilities, and others. The National Institute of Health reports that 1 in 5 people across the globe are neurodivergent. Unique abilities among some neurodivergent thinkers may include visual memory, attention to detail, enjoying repetition, pattern recognition, hyperempathy, ability to hyper-focus, and creative thinking. Neurodivergences are often stigmatized, invisible, or masked, and this group does not often have representation on the D&I agenda, despite 20% of the population being neurodivergent. Today's purpose is to draw your attention to registered apprenticeships as a work-based learning and employment solution, where despite opportunities to gain experience with core job skills and gain industry-specific knowledge while earning wages, RAPs are traditionally underused as an employment option for both neurodiverse youth and adults. Neurodiverse adults continue to contend with underemployment, part-time jobs, or careers without options for upskilling, or those with a non-livable wage. In terms of autism spectrum disorder, ASD, the first US study of autism in adults estimates that 2.2% of Americans have an autism spectrum condition. That adds up to 5.4 million people age 18 and older, or about 1 in 45 people. 90% are unemployed or underemployed, and 85% of adults with ASD who have a college degree also remain unemployed or underemployed. If we look at some of the reasons why only so many neurodiverse adults are not in any kind of employment, and what's clear through research and conversations, it's not due to a lack of interest or work or skill set. There remains some fear among employers, as well as a lack of awareness about apprenticeships for applicants and within the provider community. Registered apprenticeship programs offer a viable solution to unemployment. RAPs are America's most successfully federally authorized workforce development program. And according to the Department of Labor, 93% of people who complete a registered apprenticeship are employed upon completion, earning an average starting wage of about $77,000 per year. Additionally, businesses can earn $1.44 back for every dollar invested toward their apprentices in a registered apprenticeship program. RAPs offer an important opportunity for all apprentices, specifically for neurodiverse people. Today, we will hear from subject matter experts about various concepts such as employment first, competitive integrated employment, and we'll hear from a pre-apprenticeship sponsor who targets youth early on in their career journey to engage in work-based learning, and from a registered apprenticeship sponsor who offers a quality and inclusive RAP to apprentices, including some who are neurodivergent. There are a variety of benefits to employers who are interested in being a registered apprenticeship program. This includes the ability to create a structured certified training program where you will have the ability to inform training for participants in your program. Building a relationship with the provider network is extremely important in order for this to take place. This is because the provider community offers valuable expertise in areas such as on-the-job training, related training instruction, a variety of funding streams, and can also support your apprentices during the program. Employers are able to create a talent pipeline to a variety of positions that continually have vacancies. And the employee commitment that is built through on-the-job training will be sustained and noticed within your employee culture. In general, finding a job and keeping a job can be an overwhelming challenge for neurodiverse people, more so than neurotypical people. And this process can be made easier through the partnerships that you will hear about today with employment support professionals, high schools, vocational rehabilitation, community colleges. These providers really understand the referred apprentices as well as how on-the-job training works. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my slides. For today's panel, we will hear from subject matter experts about concepts such as employment first, competitive integrated employment, and the sponsor. Our panelists include Terry Nels, a certification coordinator through the National Association of People Supporting Employment First. Terry is a certified employment support professional with over 20 years of experience working with job seekers to obtain and maintain community integrated employment. Terry earned her CESP in 2015, assuring that she would have the knowledge and skills to provide the highest level of support and services to job seekers and employees with disability. She has advocated for employment first within her community and state, on the national level, and she served as chair of the Employment Support Professional Certification Council from 2017 to 2022, when she stepped down to join the national APSE team. Terry values mentoring and upcoming employment support professionals where she can share her knowledge, experience, and enthusiasm for Employment First and the Certified Employment Support Professional credential. Catherine Dart is a CEES Program Coordinator from the University of Cincinnati Advancement and Transition Services. She holds a master's degree in special education from the University of Cincinnati. She's held many roles within the special education field, and some of these roles include being an intervention specialist, behavior support coach, collaborative coaching, and transition coordinator. Between 2016 and 2023, Katie developed the Collaboration for Education and Employment Synergy, a high school transition program, which collaborates with approximately 15 local school districts to offer transition programming to increase students' post-school outcomes in the areas of post-secondary and technical training, paid employment, self-determination, and independent living skills. Bailey Ranella is the Director of Apprentice in Training at CyberUp. She has 5 years of experience in designing and managing workforce development programs in the nonprofit space. Following a corporate career in social responsibility, Bailey chose her experience and expertise to create lasting change in the lives of individuals and communities. At CyberUp, Bailey manages the Level Up training and apprenticeship programs that recruit, train, and place adults into paid registered apprenticeships. The program provides free and inclusive pathways to high-paying cybersecurity skill paths and careers. Bailey and the team at CyberUp are dedicated to creating an environment where individuals feel supported, included, and empowered to collaborate, innovate, and achieve their fullest potential. Lastly, we will feature Sterling Smith, an apprentice alumni at CyberUp, to share his personal experiences within CyberUp's inclusive registered apprenticeship program. Now for our first panelist, Terry.
Hi, everyone. I am Terry Nellis. As Danielle said, I am the CESP coordinator, certification coordinator for National APSE. I've been doing that for about the past year. So, APSE. I'd like to just talk a little bit about what APSE is and what our mission is. APSE is the Association of People Supporting Employment First. So it's the only national membership organization that is exclusively focused on employment first, and it is continually working with our state and federal government, trying to have employment first policies put into practice within the states. And those policies just relate to people being recognized that they can work and that anybody, despite however challenged they are, has a place in the workforce, and that place will be there for them to bring meaning to their life, be paid the same as other people in similar positions within the company, getting the same benefits, and being able to work alongside people who also don't have disabilities. Some may not. Currently, APSE has over 21 professional and business memberships. So with that comes lots of perks, but it also allows APSE to continue the work on the Hill and get in front of those lawmakers to make sure that employment first is happening for everybody in all the states. The CESP, which is the Certified Employment Support Professional Credential, that's the program I run. We have over 2,000 CESPs from across the United States. So the role of an employment support professional and the value in designing and enhancing RAP's success. We have had explained to us what RAPs are, and job coaches serve different but highly complementary objectives and helping individuals reach their career goals or at least get started on that career path, which is really important. So how they can work together. Job coaches traditionally play a role in assessing an individual's skills and interests and needs before they would enter a RAP. So this is all prior to even applying. This assessment helps the job coach to identify suitable apprenticeship opportunities and make sure that it's in line with what the job seeker is looking for. So gone are the days of, you have a disability, you want a job. Well, let's just find a job. No, we are very interested in finding out exactly what interests people and where they would find their joy in working. Preparation would be that job coaches can provide the RAP training folks or whatever readiness program they're using to prepare individuals on the demands of apprenticeships. So we have trainings at APSE, and I welcome people to come in and look at what we have on board there. A lot of it is basic job skills, workplace etiquette, soft skills development. Job matching, like I said, is very important. We want to make sure that those apprentices are matched with suitable opportunities. So we assist in identifying openings, submitting applications, and preparing for interviews. Job coaches can help apprenticeships transition smoothly into their apprenticeship roles. So we're there for onboarding and, orientation and getting them paired up with, coworkers, because that can be hard for people. And we strongly endorse something called natural supports. And that is your coworkers, not necessarily the boss. Once an individual begins their apprenticeship, job coaches can continue to provide support. They offer guidance on workplace accommodations. They'll help solve problems that come up or assist in resolving any kind of workplace issues that might arise. So you would look at us as a liaison between the employee and the business. Advocacy, job coaches serve as advocates for apprentices, for all the people we support. A vital role of being a CESP is that we advocate for the people we're working with and make sure their rights and accommodations are respected. So you have worries about bringing in people maybe with disabilities. No fears, because you have subject matter experts at your disposal to help you to figure out what might need be, taken care of. I didn't realize I saw this yesterday, that advocacy stayed on twice. Anyway, skill development, job coaches can provide additional training or coaching in specific job related skills. So it may be that initially they're learning beside the apprentice. And if an apprentice loses track of something, they can help keep them focused on what the main task was. Also, a job coach will come in during that skill development phase, maybe the first day to 3 days, and do a task analysis. And this will be an observation and a sheet, and they most likely will share this with the employer. Just kind of breaking down the job, the expectations, and just so everything is clear between employer and employee on expectations in particular. Job coaches facilitate communication between the apprentice and the employer, like I said, a liaison. And then also we can help if there is classroom instruction going on with the RAP. We can help bring in some of that job readiness stuff into that program as well. So we're here to support, and as everyone's main goal, we want people working. If they want to work, they're going to work. We will monitor the progress of the apprentices throughout the program, track their skill development, and address concerns right away. That is so important, to not let things sit. You want to make sure if a concern comes up that right that day you are notifying a job coach if talking to the apprentice hasn't solved the issue. We will help them transition to a real job, not real, but non-apprentice, we'll say. So once the apprenticeship is done and complete, and it'd be beautiful if the business has really been impressed and they're going to hire this person to continue on after the apprenticeship. But if not, a job coach will come in and help. If the client or the job seeker enjoyed the duties he was doing, then we'll maybe try to find a similar job to that. If it wasn't the job seekers quite a great match as we thought, we'll move on, maybe a different apprenticeship. We do love making long-term career planning. Just as we do for ourselves, we should do for the people we serve. So you may hear job coaches talking about a continuum of growth, perhaps, for that job seeker. Say they complete the apprenticeship, you're keeping them on. What's next? And then what's next after that? So we want always to have people thinking ahead and knowing that what they're doing today can make them successful tomorrow. Let's see, job coaches, I think I kind of said that. The guidance and support from a job coach is really valuable to the individuals with disabilities or those who may require extra assistance in navigating the apprenticeship journey. I've done it a couple times in the past, and I remember there being a lot of paperwork. So there was paperwork and there was background checks, and these people are being completely screened. They've already been pre-screened by an agency that they're working with, and now we're bringing them into a wrap situation where they're going to be screened even further. So a lot of people will know if this wrap is going to be effective for someone. Talking about CESPs, Certified Employment Support Professionals, equal best practices. We are an accredited program. We were the first nationally accredited program in the United States made exclusively for employment support professionals. So that's job coaches, job developers, transition to work teachers, people like that. But what I really like to highlight here is that the CESP, and something that's very dear to me, distinguishes itself as a certification initiative rather than just a mere certificate program. A lot of places you go, you take a class, you get a certificate of attendance. The CESP is a certification, a credential. And the more people we can get to join in this country, the better the role for the job coaches and job developers, because they're a little underappreciated currently and historically. So our main goal at APSE is to professionalize the field. And with that comes sitting for an exam. All these states, there are 43 states that have CESPs within them. There's 2,000 within those states as of last month. I would like to also let you know that I have access to all the states and all the names of the certified employment support professionals. So if a program is looking to that they need help from a CESP, contact me and I can find someone in your area. So you can use APSE for that free of charge. Just email me and I will send you names and contacts or make introductions with CESPs that are in your where you live. Service providers, the CESP communicates to your funders that your staff are competent. You as the employer are feeling confident that the staff are using best practices. And it also can be used as a tool for succession and leadership planning. So again, not only do we want our job seekers having a career path, we want ourselves to as well. So with the CESP, with that confidence, also can lead to succession and leadership planning within an agency. For the businesses, you know that you are going to get help hiring talented employees that are a fit to your company culture and needs. And that's part of what comes out in those job or task analysis. The company culture is in there too. And that is when we kind of start to realize, good fit, bad fit. We're going to have to watch this. This might be just how this company is. And maybe this person isn't fitting into the realm as easy. I'm going to say that that's rare, because a job coach would help them to maneuver around that company culture. Forward. Okay. Did I go too far? I can't tell. It's moving slow for me. Okay, we're going to talk about community integrated employment, CIE. If I say that accidentally, that's what I'm talking about. And also the employment first movement and the principles that founded it. These are all approaches aimed at promoting the full inclusion of individuals who have disabilities into the general workforce, with a focus on competitive and integrative employment. And we say that a lot because not so many years ago, and I can say this because when I started working, employment wasn't an option for all people with disabilities, and probably not even for most. So we'd like to make sure that everything is integrated. No supported workshops. We won't go back. Definition would be integration. They're going to make the same wages as everybody else in that position. Career growth, again, that career path, equal treatment, equal benefits as your non-disabled colleagues. And this also just fosters just an inclusive environment and makes everybody, disabled, non-disabled, feel pretty good in their workday. And, a lot of people are concerned about that disabled people are on, have benefits, horribly referred to as entitlements at times. It actually just keeps them poor. So I personally would rather have someone working full-time, getting good benefits through a job. We use strength-based approach. So we're not looking at the person's weaknesses, actually kind of, for myself, ignoring that and just looking at what their strengths are and what brings them joy. We do a personalized exploration. That's one-on-one interviews with everybody, including that client, their family, ex-teachers, anyone who's in that client circle. Community engagement is another part of CIA, and that just gets people out. And we're helping employers, we're helping open jobs that have been sitting, things like that. We do a lot of collaboration with the state vocational counselors. There's a lot of weaving of those services together. Employment first principles, equal treatment and benefits. So it goes along with the other stuff I was saying, and reduced reliance on public support. Discovery is something I can run through pretty quick here. Discovery is person-centered, strength-based. You are talking to that whole circle and you're asking them questions about the job seeker. I personally find that siblings provide the most honest answers. Parents always want the best. Incorporating discovery is totally part of an employment first approach, and it just helps us to personalize job opportunities in the community. And with that, I say thank you. My contact information is at the bottom of the slide. It's either cesp@appsi.org or info@appsi.org. Please write to me. I will answer any and all questions. If you need any presentations on the CESP, you can let me know too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Terry. We really appreciate that. That was a great presentation, and I did get a quick message from Danielle that she wanted to make one quick note before we turn it over to Katie. So I'm going to flip back to that slide for her, and then we'll turn it over to Katie for her presentation.
Thank you very much. And yes, thank you, Terry. You know, I think Terry explained well that with the right support, neurodiverse employees are noted to have increased productivity and decreased likelihood of employee turnover and contribute to a diversified workforce. I just wanted to emphasize that neurodiverse apprentices will bring to the workforce unique skill sets. Often neurodivergent apprentices are more likely to complete their training, develop strong relationships with their employer, and become a productive long-term member of the workforce. Register's apprenticeship programs are or can be structured in a way that organically supports the needs of neurodiverse employees through its hands-on learning, classroom, and on-the-job training model. They feature opportunities for career exploration, as were mentioned, as well as mentoring. RAPs have an organized structure which is often programmatically broken down into task flow, task separation, written instructions, universal design, time scheduling formats, and related systems. These systems are conducive to the learning style of a wide array of diverse learners. The prevalence of apprenticeships taking part across a wide variety of industries lends itself well for those who may need remote or hybrid models. These models easily support environmental accommodations, marginal functions, a need for flexible schedules, or a desired level of discretion for the use of personal tools that support executive functioning deficits, such as apps, alarms, software programs, noise canceling devices, ambient noise, and it offers the ability to personalize the workforce. I wanted to mention these things to you because it's a nice segue into the introduction to Katie, who will talk to you a little bit now about her inclusive pre-apprenticeship program. Katie?
Hi, everyone. Very, very excited to be here. I am new to the RAP world. I'm learning some new acronyms today, so kind of excited about the new acronyms. We are a new pre-apprenticeship provider, so I'm going to kind of honestly just talk you through what we're doing. I'm very informal, so please ask any questions at any time. So again, happy to be here. This presentation, I actually leave tomorrow for DCDT, so we're going to be talking about this again tomorrow, so you're going to see some additional names on here. But like they stated, my name is Katie Dart. I am the program coordinator for CEASE, which stands for Collaboration for Education and Employment Synergy. We are housed at the University of Cincinnati, which I love. And we partner with about 15 local school districts and service students ages 14 to about 22. Sometimes I get younger ones, sometimes I get some older ones, but we're happy to have them. We service around 150 high school students each year. And this is our first pilot year of our computer science and hospitality pre-apprenticeships. So we'll talk about those a little bit more in depth. Hold on, I think I'm struggling. Okay. There we go. Okay. I don't know if I will get through all of these outcomes. I'm a talker, so please someone wave me when I'm getting close. But I will try and get through all of these. So really by the end of this, we have 4 primary outcomes. One would be to have a greater understanding of the current national state of STEM career pathways for individuals with IDD. Be able to describe a high school transition program with a heavy STEM emphasis. Outcome 3, understand the strengths and challenges and components of a collaborative model between employers, higher institutions of education, and programs with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And then our 4th outcome, I have to move us over here, identify the key principles and barriers to broaden pathways to STEM workforce and individuals with IDD. Our presentation at DCDT is very STEM focused, but we actually have developed 2 pre-apprenticeship pathways with our students, like I said, computer science and hospitality. We will have a third pre-apprenticeship thanks to another grant being developed over this next year. It'll actually be an engineering pre-apprenticeship, which I can talk about in detail if I have time at the end here. Okay, I wasn't going to share this, but then it kind of dawned on me that not all of the pre-apprenticeships or apprenticeships being talked about here have a heavy STEM focus. Is that correct? Lindsay, am I right in saying that? Danielle?
They're mostly related to IT and cybersecurity.
They are, okay. Okay, great. Well, and I might not cover all of this. This is just more stats, which you guys probably already know. Sorry, the slides are moving a little bit slow. I will just kind of summarize that. What started us on these STEM pathways? So we started about 6 or 7 years ago. Siemens, if you guys are familiar with Siemens, is a global software development company. Reach out to us and really had some new initiatives around DEI. So we started some conversations and some things kind of fizzled out, but Siemens kept coming back to us. They were super invested in this work, which was amazing. So finally, when we had the ability to start to really kind of think about this, we knew, one, this most of our students, specifically our high school students with an intellectual or developmental disability, is excluded from rigorous STEM curriculum at a very early age within our K-12 institutions, which is a big problem for employment and our national trends and the type of employment pathways that are going to be available to our students. So we knew we needed to make a shift. Not only should we be preparing our students for jobs potentially in a hospitality field or more of a customer service, but we really needed to offer some very good technical training around these STEM employment opportunities. So I'll just summarize that a little bit. Okay, so that brought us to say, okay, well, what is the best way of our agency going about this? So we actually went through a rebranding. So we are now the IDD Education Center within CECH at the University of Cincinnati. So when you saw ATS on the first slide, we actually have rebranding, and I will put our web page down here for you guys if you are interested in learning more about the work that we're doing. I put that in the chat. So basically, we knew we wanted to build, sorry, I'm having some technical issues. We knew we wanted to build STEM pathways, but weren't exactly sure how to do that. We knew we had an industry partner that was invested in this work, but this was new to us as an agency. So we started writing some grants, and they really, really like the idea of promoting STEM education and STEM career readiness for high school students. So we were receiving tons and tons and tons of grants. So we had money to be able to hire on personnel to do this. So this year, so we've been talking about this a long time, we embedded some STEM summer camps to really introduce some of these STEM components that students weren't learning in their K-12 institutions, to build some background knowledge, and then worked with the University of Cincinnati to implement an already developed computer science pre-apprenticeship. So I was very, very lucky to have someone that said, we already have a developed pre-apprenticeship here at the University of Cincinnati, and we can make pretty simple modifications to make it accessible to your high school students. So that is what we did. So we are in year 1 pilot. We serve, out of our 65 students this semester, we have about 25 students who have made the decision to participate in our pre-apprenticeship. We actually want to continue shifting that trend. So we're really working with our K-12 institutions, again, to make sure that students have this opportunity to learn these technical skills. And I'll talk about what those are here in a minute. Because a lot of times districts are still making those decisions for them and putting them on different pathways. But we want our students to be able to make informed, educated choices about what career pathways they have available to them in the future. And STEM is huge, and there's going to be more and more jobs in this territory that we need to prep these guys for. So kind of, what is CEAS? We are a high school transition program, again, working with students with IDD ages 14 to 21. Okay. So there is a great need in the Cincinnati area for high quality, evidence-based, inclusive STEM, technology, engineering, and math career pathways that also weave together the evidence-based instruction with work-based learning experiences. And what we are finding is there are some very specific accommodation modifications, or even simple adaptations that we're making to the technical part of the curriculum to make sure that it's accessible to all learners. Something that is very unique about the CEAS program is our eligibility criteria. All you have to do is be enrolled in high school, and you have to be on an IEP. And that is it. And we will work with your local school district to make sure that we adapt or modify the training, the technical training, and the work-based learning opportunities for all students. You know, a lot of times the eligibility requirements for some of these training platforms are really hard for our students to meet. So we want them on the college campus. We want them learning these skills. Also, what we have found is the need for one of those high leverage practices, which is called flexible grouping. We use flexible grouping consistently to promote the success of our students meeting these competencies. And also with this pre-apprenticeship, it provides flexible opportunities for students to meet graduation requirements. So not only is by shifting our program to a pre-apprenticeship, it's a bigger bang for our buck for our students, right? Students can earn college credit for the competencies and standards built into that pre-apprenticeship. And they can also meet all 12 alternate graduation points for alternate graduation requirement for here in the state of Ohio, which our local school districts are really having trouble helping students meet those alternate graduation requirements. By offering this pre-apprenticeship to them, they would earn all 12 points. So it was also beneficial for our students to make sure that they can get their diploma. And then to develop the knowledge and skills necessary for a student to not only enter, but also persist in jobs to provide a meaningful wage in different STEM pathways. Okay, you guys already know the components of apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships, but for a lot of people that don't, the components of the pre-apprenticeship are that technical training component, the work-based learning, and then we put a high emphasis on the mentoring portion. So all of my staff, besides one other intervention specialist, are all UC student workers that come from different areas of study from all over the campus. And our students are paired with those instructional coaches and or student support staff to mentor them in the specific job pathways of interest. So I think that is a unique component, just because we have that peer-to-peer instruction and that peer-to-peer mentoring for our high school students. Our students really could care less about hanging out with me, but they think it's really, really cool when they get to hang out with a UC student. I'm like that old lady in the back of the room. So, but building those relationships, building it with diverse others also really benefits our learners in the long run. Okay, so by the end of 2023-2024, we will have 3 pre-apprenticeship pathways fully developed and running at the University of Cincinnati for students with IDD. We have our hospitality field, we have our computer science, and then we will be building an engineering pathway. Just received another grant. Our engineering will focus on computer-aided design. We will be working hand in hand. It's called Enable UC. Enable is actually a global nonprofit organization that utilizes 3D printers to build low-cost prosthetics for people around the world. So our students will be paired with those peer mentors. They will learn how to take apart 3D printers, how to build them again, how to run them. They will learn the software, and then we'll have some type of relationship with actually getting the prosthetic to the user. So very, very excited about that pre-apprenticeship and the opportunity we're going to be able to provide to our students. Our ultimate goal is by the end of 2026, 2027, that we have 5 fully running pre-apprenticeship programs for our students. And then that's probably enough at that point, because they're a lot of work is what I'm finding out. Okay, so this is just really like all of the strengths and the challenges that I am learning in running these programs. So one, we said, you know, this serves as an alternate pathway to graduation for struggling students. Competency completed during CEAS will provide students with technical skills needed to be successful in jobs after high school. This also, what we are working on building here at UC are multiple pathways for students. So we will have pre-apprenticeship opportunities, not only for our high school students, but for our post-secondary students as well. We will have apprenticeship opportunities, some already existing apprenticeships here at UC, or we will work to develop those over time. We also are building seamless pathways to students who want to expand their learning to work on industry recognized credentials, students who want to move on to either an associate's, a bachelor's, or even, more post-secondary education if they choose to. So our goal at the end of next year is that we really have a really good framework for students to be able to move from a pre-apprenticeship into apprenticeship or an IRC, whatever fits the learner best, but that they are holding these industry recognized credentials, which we know are really important for their resumes and continued job experience. We have, okay, this is also going back to what we are learning and what makes this unique and most likely sustainable. So we couldn't do this without our industry partners. Like I said, Siemens actually started to ignite some of this work that we are doing, but we have many, many other supportive industry partners. Siemens has come in with our summer programs and done coaching where they're pairing with students and pairing with existing Siemens employees to do that one-on-one in-person training. We do that with other industry partners as well. And then the universally designed curriculum. So for our computer science, we're actually using Project Lead the Way as our base curriculum. You may or may not be familiar with this. It's a really awesome curriculum. So we actually work with a team of instructional coaches to adapt that curriculum to make it just the way that we scaffold that information, multiple means of representation for our learners. And our coaches are really trained well, even our IT students, in those fundamental teaching practices. So not only are they walking away with an IT degree, but I can 100% say that our IT students who are helping to build this program will be able to support learners within their next step, right? Wherever they end up, they're going to be able to support their colleagues, which is great. I love that kind of unintended outcome. And what we also know is from our perspective, we always have a subject matter expert teaching alongside an intervention specialist. I do not have a STEM background, right? I'm an intervention specialist by trade, really did more behavior support than anything. I am not the person that should be teaching students about coding, right? But I can be taught coding and I can learn how to scaffold that or adapt that in a way that is accessible to my students. So we have found that partnership has been really key in this being successful. Our students are moving through these competencies quicker than I ever would have anticipated, which is amazing. I think we'll have such a story to share with this, and something that hopefully can be replicated. We need many more programs like this to support our learners. And then our school partners. Obviously, we wouldn't even have this program without our school partners. But not only that is sending the message to our school partners that it is very, very important at a younger age that students are being exposed to these STEM concepts, that they are not excluded from these STEM pathways and educational opportunities. Oh, that's it. I thought I had more slides. Okay, all right. So I know I threw a lot of information at you, but things are going really well. So that's really all I have, Lindsay, unless we have any questions for me.
That's great. We will, if folks want to toss their questions into the Q&A or into the chat, we will address them back at the Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. But now I'm going to turn it over to Bailey to tell us about CyberUp's program. So thank you, Katie. And
thank you,
Bailey.
Thanks, Lindsay. Hi, I'm Bailey Ranella. I'm the Director of Apprenticeship and Training here at CyberUp. Our purpose at CyberUp is to create accessible pathways into cybersecurity, and we do take a very personal approach. So today I'll be talking about two of our three programs. So we do have a K through a career approach to the workforce solutions to address the demand for employees in cybersecurity. So we do have a youth program that gets kids interested in cyber. And then from there, our second program is our pre-apprenticeship program. And what this is a free training to get people their CompTIA Security Plus certification. That is what we've heard from our employers time and again, that they're looking for in an entry-level employee. Our program is open for adults, so we do work closely with a lot of high schools again to get people interested in joining straight into our training program as soon as they graduate. Currently, our training program is open to anyone in the St. Louis and Denver areas. And really, when it comes down to it, to design an inclusive and accessible RAP, it's about the culture, right? Just to have that respectful, flexible staff and instructors that are just open to teaching and to have the patience and empathy, right, for the different ways that everyone learns. We want our program to, the reason it's free and the reason that next on the recruitment portion of things, none of the pieces of our onboarding or of our training program itself are meant to exclude anyone from being able to get this certification and to start a career in cybersecurity. And so we really take that seriously in the fact of, with our recruitment, we want to have those open and honest conversations with people. And that's where the one-on-one conversations with our coaches come in, to really have that discussion before they even start the training about what the challenges may be as they were to start their training and then their apprenticeship and then their career. And then also, you know, how can we also support them to make sure that they find success throughout our program. Thank you. And then we do have an assessment, and honestly, our assessment again is not intended to exclude anyone. The idea of our assessment is to just ensure that you have the basic technical skills that will help you be successful long-term in a career in cyber. So once you start the training, we do have different learning options. We do have a self-paced version and we have an instructor-led version. And depending on what people are looking for, they can join either cohort based on availability and timing that matches up with what they are. And that goes back to those one-on-ones to find the right learning path for them. Everyone, of course, gets all the study materials up front. We initially provide everything that's digital, but say someone needs, you know, would prefer a physical book or they need additional things, we're happy to provide that as well. Just whatever is needed, again, at no cost, to ensure that the person is going to be successful throughout the training. And then mentorship is a huge part, of course, right? And then peer support too. We're really encouraging the cohort to have that camaraderie, to be able to ask each other questions, in addition to the instructors and all the other support staff that is there to help the people throughout their pre-apprenticeship journey. And then, of course, you know, the simple things, extended test taking when possible. And then the most important part is the job placement opportunities, which after you graduate our apprenticeship program and earn your certification, you are then eligible for our apprenticeship program, which I'll talk about here in a second. And the number one thing too is celebrating the success stories, right? We've had all different people successfully complete our program. And it's really about how can we show that regardless of your background or potential obstacles that you might have in your life, whatever they may be, there's probably someone else that has successfully completed our program throughout. So moving to the next slide, to our apprenticeship program. Oh, I wasn't patient. Okay, so our registered apprenticeship program, let's scoot back, the sun hit me just in time to start presenting here. So our apprenticeship program is, of course, a paid job. We have the related training, instruction, and mentorship, you know, the main components of any apprenticeship. The apprenticeship is for adults 18 plus, because it's a 40-hour-a-week job. You are working typically 8 to 5, or depending on what the employer wants, but it is a full-time job, and really it's open to anyone. Our basic minimal requirement to be eligible is to have that CompTIA Security Plus certification. With this, a big part, of course, are employers that offer the paid job portion of the program. But we really are careful and thoughtful about the type of employers that we work with across the board. We want to work with people that have a welcoming and inclusive workplace. We want to ensure that our apprentices always have a great apprenticeship, and then also have only work with employers that have the intention to keep people on full time following the apprenticeship. And then also partnerships within the industry, people that can support our mentorship and the continuous learning, partners like CYAI that can help us keep our program, again, at no cost for any of the participants throughout. It is always helpful to have any additional support to keep our programs accessible for everyone that wants to participate. Then throughout the year-long apprenticeship, the support network is key, right? So mentors, whether that is, of course, at the employer, but then also additional mentors as needed, depending on the types of projects that you're put on, and whatever it could be that you just need that extra support. The peer network of other apprentices, whether it's at your company or elsewhere, but then also helping you grow your professional network. So introducing you to other industry professionals, learning about their career journeys and their paths as well. We do regular check-ins with our team, with each apprentice one-on-one, the option of multiple communication channels, so really flexible on what works best for the apprentice. And then patience across the board, right? Everyone is different, learns different, works different, and just really being flexible with that. And then on the professional development, again, with the different learning options, we'll do whatever works best for the apprentice and with the employer. So we're very flexible on that RTI. Additional study materials, again, they choose when they start their RTI what they want to do and what works best for them. Ownership, they're always encouraged, apprentices, through the employer, to really own the projects that they're working on and make it their own. And that means they can set up their own and develop their own systems and what works best for them. And then again, celebrating those that growth and the milestones. So as they're hitting certain milestones and having great success throughout their apprenticeship, really taking the time to celebrate that as well. Okay, so with that, want to bring on Sterling Smith. He is one of our alumni apprentices, and have him give a firsthand account of his experience and how apprenticeship helped him. So Sterling, are you? See if I see you here. You unmute. There we go. Oh. There we go.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
There we go. I can. All right, so let's jump straight into some of these questions here for you. First off, how did you learn about CyberUp, and what made you apply?
Well, I learned about it from I had subscribed to the VA coordinator here, the job coordinator for the local VA in Charlotte. He has a newsletter or jobs that he sends out a couple of times a week or several times a week with emails with job openings for lots of companies that are willing to hire veterans. It's focused on veterans because it's the VA. And then CyberUp had an ad in one of those that said you're looking for a pilot program that we're looking for only veterans for this, at least this cohort, to get into, who are interested in the field of cybersecurity and who would like to take courses, and we'll provide you with the coursework needed to study for and take yours, the CompTIA Security Plus exam. Get your certification in.
Yeah. And so then, so as you did the training, and then you interviewed with one of our partner employers, and then you started your apprenticeship program. So during your apprenticeship program, what was an accomplishment that you're most proud of?
Well, I think just being hired into such a great company to work for is probably what I would say. You know, I'm proud to work here, but also getting, I was doing sort of a career pivot from working as an engineer in semiconductors to cybersecurity, which they're related, but they're not the same. So I had to learn a whole sort of different set of skills. So during that, I'm, in network security, which is different than designing a chip. So during the course of that, becoming familiar with firewalls was part of it, and also learning cloud-based cybersecurity. So I think some of the other things that I would be proud of are I studied for and took 3 certification exams during the last year during my time as an apprentice. So I have 2 of them that are related to the firewall company that we use, and then the other one is Amazon Web Services, the certified cloud practitioner. It's the basic level, but still, it's a little bit of a challenge, and so kind of proud of getting those certifications. Whether or not they're great, they are. I think they look good on a resume. I think people look for those, and some of those are required for access in our job.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that many certifications in that amount of time is definitely impressive. So during your apprenticeship, how did your ADHD shape your apprenticeship, both positively and negatively? And what kind of conversations did you have with your manager about it?
Oh, okay. I'll answer the last part first. So I've had a lot of managers in different positions, but I usually will tell them, because people who have neurodiverse ADHD especially, we don't look and visually, we don't work the same. We don't look the same typically as neurotypical people would. A lot of times we might be staring off into space. It's like we're daydreaming, but we're not actively typing away on the keyboard coding, but we're thinking about a problem. We're really just deep into it, hyper focused at that point. So I usually tell my manager, and so I did. My manager's aware, and he also has worked with people before. So people who've had that experience and knowledge, managers who know how to manage or know how we work and how we look when we're working. Now, it's not that important if you're remote, because there's not a camera with me, my manager's not looking at me all the time, or doesn't walk by and see me just staring into space. But so that's the first part of it. But as far as shaping the ADHD, I look at it as like it's 2 prongs, but I look at it sometimes and I'll say it's a gift and a curse, but mostly it's a gift. I don't even like to call it a disability, because it's more of a talent that I don't have conscious control over. So the ability to hyperfocus is a really great thing when it's needed. It's not so good if it's there when you don't need it, but for me, for one example, having that ability really augments the ability to critically think about problems and to problem solve. And so for me, that's a lot of my job is problem solving. And as an engineer as well, most of your job is problem solving. You can be taught that ADD really lets you pick up on all the different pieces of a problem. And then you can zero in on the one that's most likely to be the cause, and then or one or two, and you can focus on that. And that usually is, it's a real boon to be able to have that.
Yeah.
But then, in other cases, you might have something that I'm interested in, and I'll go down and I'll say, oh, I'm really interested in this, but it might be something very esoteric and not necessarily related to my job requirements. And then I'm off into hobby land, and I need to kind of say, that's something I can put aside. It's an interest, but I don't need to follow it as far as it'll go. Sometimes it takes a little nudge to get me out of that mindset. A little, just a little, hey, I'll come back, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
do end up, if I see something during the course of my work and I want to pursue that, I'll just put a little flag in my head. It'll still be there because that's the way thoughts are in the ADHD brain. And I'll come back to it later on my own time, just that deep dive if I want to, on the ones that are really interesting. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Awesome. So as far as additional support, have you worked with a provider like a coach or therapist during or before even your apprenticeship? And if so, how were you connected with them?
Well, I was diagnosed with ADHD early in life, but then it kind of went away and just didn't really. But then I got an official diagnosis a lot later, and in 2018. And so I had been seeing a psychologist, and she said, let's get you tested for ADHD. And then I got tested, and the result was, moderate to severe ADHD. And at that point, I asked the person who made the diagnosis, what do you recommend? And so he put me in touch with a therapist who specializes in ADHD, who in fact has ADHD himself. So I see him on a regular basis, about once every 2 weeks. In fact, this morning, just a little earlier, I saw him, and we talked about he can relate having ADHD himself. So when I tell him something about this or that, he can give me some pointers, things that he's done, how to look at things, how to frame things in a way that doesn't make you put blame on yourself for something when it's really the ADHD that's causing an issue, and how to work on some mechanism or some kind of solution to figure out how can we create a way to work around this obstacle.
Sure. Okay, one last question. If you had advice to others on the value of apprenticeships, what would it be?
I would say that an apprenticeship is a thing of great value. So if you look at it, if you see one, grab it. Now, I don't mean it in the monetary value. It's not, it can be depending on what the field is. If you want to, cybersecurity is certainly a great growing and also a very a field right now where there's a severe shortage. So economics would say when there's a shortage, the price goes up, right? So that can be rewarding in that sense, but it has value just in the terms of it puts you into a position. So it gives you something better than just reading about a position, something just better than talking to people who work in that position. You're in it. So I would compare it to just being there. And I like to think of it as it can also be a way to test out the waters, like those little Baskin-Robbins pink spoons that they give you to sample the ice cream. You can take a little taste and you can get an idea. Am I going to like this before I get a full scoop, before I commit to the whole thing, right? So that's something that apprenticeship can do. It's if you get into there and you don't like it, then you really haven't done anything except take a tiny little taste. And you can move on and pick whatever works for you. But it can also, in my case, it can confirm that, hey, this is a good fit and I chose well. But and I think in some cases, then if it doesn't work out, then you haven't really invested a ton of your effort in that. So
Yeah, well, and you still built your resume, right? And I think the Baskin Robbins example is great because cybersecurity has 45 different identified career paths. So people can say that they're interested in cybersecurity, and that can mean lots of different things.
physical
And
um,
right.
financial, even, I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many parts that I had to learn just to pass the security bus that are not related to computers at all. Like
Right.
learning what a man trap is something that's a physical security, but that's part of cybersecurity is you need guards to make sure of the physical aspects of it. So even though
True.
that's not
Yeah.
what I work in, but someone can do that. That's a position within cybersecurity of, a really needed position.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're right. The awareness level that apprenticeships can lead to, and it allows you to try out something, and you might find that you really thought strongly that you're going to love this part of cyber, and really you found out maybe you don't love that part, but you want to try this other thing. You still like this career field. So yeah, I think that's great. Awesome. Well, we'll pass it back to Lindsay for some Q&A.
Thank you so much, Bailey, and thank you, Sterling. And thank you to all of our presenters today. I mean, we've heard a lot of great information from many different perspectives, from the employment support perspective, from a pre-apprenticeship connected to higher education, a registered apprenticeship, and an apprentice themselves. We got to hear a little bit of everything. And I will say, back in high school, I would have loved to be a part of that prosthetics apprenticeship that you have, Katie, because that was actually my goal in high school. I wanted to work on prosthetics, but I had no way of knowing what that work would look like. So I can already tell that's a super cool program. And if you folks in the audience have any questions for our speakers, we're going to do a little Q&A right now. I've seen a couple questions come through in the chat, and I'll turn it over to Danielle to talk to us about those questions. And if you have any more, you can feel free to unmute to ask questions at this point, or put them in the chat or Q&A feature.
Yes, thank you again. Thank you to all of the panelists, and Sterling, especially for sharing your personal testimony. I really appreciate that. In the chat, there is a question or two. The first question to anyone on the panel, I had answered, but I'd like your information. When you have been working with parents or guardians of neurodiverse youth, have there been some common concerns about registered apprenticeships that you hear expressed, and anything that we as sponsors or intermediaries should make sure are addressed upfront? So, any of our panelists have any insight on that? Thank you. Bailey?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to, for us, like on the support side of things, to really make sure that people have an understanding of, the full amount of services that we provide, and how that can look and how it can be tailored to each individual to ensure that they're going to be successful. So that's, a lot of it is to have the understanding of really, how we're here for a full 12 months to make sure that people are finding success in that we're providing whatever we need to make sure that that's what happens.
Thank you.
I can't speak to this from an apprenticeship because I literally only do pre-apprenticeships right now. Maybe in the next 5 years we'll do apprenticeships. I don't know. But just working with our industry partners, I do find some sometimes when working with families, a bit of an unrealistic expectation of the industry partners or the employer. So we do a lot of work kind of establishing that right off the bat, right? Like this is an adult, right? You are not their guardian. They are their own employee. This is their employer. And then also like just working with that industry partner to support the student and retaining that employment, right? Like when that, you said Bailey's there for about 12 weeks. What in the world does that look like after that? What is different types of support that can be brought in? And that generally does help ease parents' anxiety, yet it's another agency they have to navigate. And I understand the complexities of that. But I mean, boiling it down, it's all about relationships and having those hard conversations and working through all the little details. And if we don't, what we find is that employment retainment is not there. So again, not an apprenticeship, but we do a lot of just employment placements, and we do a lot of work with our industry partners. But it's always an interesting dynamic when you have that family perspective, which is critically important for just helping them to navigate those situations.
Yes, absolutely. And it brings in the value of what Terry spoke about earlier of an employment support professional. Often if there is a level of discomfort from the applicant or apprentice themselves, that is a person that they can lean on for support to have those kinds of conversations. And also that person is trained in the field of negotiation and customized employment so that they could work with the employer closely. If someone isn't connected to a certified employment support professional, there's a variety of ways for that to happen, as Terry described, but definitely an important relationship in that employment process. Another question in the chat is that there is someone, an entity from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and they're looking to start an apprenticeship program. Is there anyone on the group here who might be able to help guide them, or is it just based upon your location? Speaking about starting a registered apprenticeship program, that tend to matter if you're going to have a national or state apprenticeship program, but some of the principles and concepts of setting up a program are transferable wherever you might go. And I know, Bailey, you went through that process. Is there any learned lessons you can share?
Yeah, so we started as a state apprenticeship program, and we're actually in the process of becoming a national apprenticeship program. I think that path makes a lot of sense. If you're going to start locally, start at the state level and get to know the folks that are involved in apprenticeship locally. I actually am at a conference right now, and I just talked to the Department of Labor people here in Missouri. So they're super friendly. They are ready and willing to help you create your apprenticeship. I don't know if it's cyber related. If it is, feel free to reach out. But reach out to your local Department of Labor apprenticeship team, and they can definitely point you in the right direction.
There was a question earlier, in case anyone missed the response, but is an employment support professional specific to any state, or is there cost for the training? Terry provided some information in the chat, but is there anything further you wanted to say about that, Terry?
I just want to say that the CESP is not a training program. It is a credentialing program. So people take it with some minimal eligibility prerequisites, and that would just be education, work experience, and signing a code of conduct. We also offer monthly question and answer sessions for free, where we go through everything about the CESP. I host them second Wednesday of the month. I did put in the chat the link to sign up for those. Yeah, so questions, it's fairly involved. I will say that if you've been working in the field of employment supports for a minimum of a year, you have a minimum of a high school diploma or higher, and you can submit a resume and an employment verification. you are able to sit for the exam. The application is $40. And then the exam, to sit for the exam is, after you get approved, is $159. And we use a testing center called Criterion to do all our psychometric work with the exam.
Thank you. And that seems to conclude the questions that I see in the chat or in the Q&A box. But certainly if there are others, you can feel free to email after the webinar. You can contact me directly if you'd like. And we look forward to sharing additional information with you about anything that the speakers have talked about today, about CYAI if you'd like to learn more, as well as assistance in registered apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships and the certified employment support professional content too. So thank you very much for attending today.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to be with us today. We hope to post a recording of this webinar on the CYAI website, which is cyai2024.org. And there you can also find the disability resource bundle that Danielle mentioned, as well as other resources, white papers, tip sheets, and other information about CYAI and registered apprenticeship programs. If you sent a question that we didn't get to, we will send it to our speakers and post it along with the recording on our website, as well as the slides from today's presentation that you can reference if you'd like to in the future. We will also be hosting more webinars in the coming months. We have one hopefully coming up next month that is in the works about supporting youth in Native youth in connecting to and being supported in registered apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs. So we will have in future months more webinars on connecting and supporting other underserved and underrepresented populations in RAPs and pre-RAPs. So thank you everybody for participating today. And like Danielle said, please reach out via email. You could reach CYAI at CYAI2024@icf.com. And some of our presenters left their contact information on the slides, which will be posted on the website, as I mentioned. So you can reach out to them directly if you'd like. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in some future webinars. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.